G'day. Overtake Mode, Boost Mode, Active Aero, terms you've probably never heard before, but shortly they'll be ingrained in every F1 fan's mind. These are all part of the 2026 F1 regulations that will change the sport that you love. And could the 50% of you unsubscribed viewers please hit that subscribe button at the end of this video so you don't miss out on future videos. In 2026, F1 cars will look markedly different, with different chassis and power units, engines. This is due to a completely new set of regulations governing the design and construction of Formula One cars. It's the biggest overhaul of regulations in the sport's 75-year history. F1 is saying these changes will shake up the order and create new excitement while delivering incredible racing. If true, we are in for a cracker of a season. But there'll be some new terms thrown about in the press and on TV broadcasts that you'll want to familiarise yourself with. The first is Overtake Mode. If drivers are within a second of a car in front, they'll be able to deploy extra power to instigate an overtake. And what about DRS? Well, that's gone. The rear wing will no longer be open and closed on straights. The Overtake Mode replaces DRS and aids on-track passing. In short, a driver will have more power available to them for a brief time, to be used all in one go or spread out over a lap. The second new term is Boost Mode. This is a driver-operated energy deployment tool for the energy recovery system, which can be used offensively or defensively depending on track position. It gives the driver maximum power from the battery and the engine at the push of a button, no matter where they are on track. This is different to Overtake Mode, which can only be used when a car is within a second of a car in front. The third new term, Active Aero. Dynamically adjustable angles of the front and rear wing elements in specific high-speed sections designed for corner and straight modes. It enables strategic adaptability and maximizes full usage of the car's power through greater on-track grip. And the fourth one is recharge. Drivers can recharge their battery with recovered energy from braking, on throttle lift at the end of straights, and even corners where only part power is applied. Now, I'm no technical boffin when it comes to F1 cars, but in layman's terms, the 2026 cars will be radically different to the 2025. For a start, they'll be smaller and lighter, and that's good news. The wheelbase is reduced by 200 millimeters to 3.4 meters, the width of a car by 100 millimeters to 1.9 meters, the floor width cut by 150 millimeters, and the minimum weight for cars will drop 30 kilograms to 770 kilograms to make them more agile and responsive. This will help when it comes to overtakes on tracks like Monaco, which is the narrowest of the circuits that we race on. That track is, 7.5 meters wide at its narrowest. Put two 2025 cars next to each other on track, and at the moment, you'd have just 3.5 meters of unused track at its narrowest. Next year, that'll be 3.7 meters, an extra 200 meters. So what is that? Now, it's not huge, but it's better than being 200 millimeters less. And if you go back to the first cars in 1950, they were about 1.5 meters wide. In the 70s, they'd grown to 2.2 meters. Next year, they'll be 1.9. It's interesting to note too that when F1 kicked off in 1950, there was no minimum weight requirement for cars. The first time a minimum weight was introduced was in 1961, and that was 450 kilos. The 1950 Ferrari 375 F1 was certainly much lighter than today's cars. Wikipedia lists the weight at 560 kilograms, and back then they didn't have lightweight materials like carbon fiber. But from the mid-90s, the minimum weight for a car with its driver was around 600 kilograms, with that figure rising to this year 800 before dropping to 770 next year. There will also be a reduction in overall downforce next year, 15 to 30% lower, resulting from the removal of ground effect floor tunnels. Overall drag reduced by up to 40%. And tyres, well, the 18-inch wheels remain, but front tyres will be 25 millimeters narrower, and the rears 30 mil narrower, cutting drag and minimising weight. Now, this will be welcome news for those putting on and taking off tyres during pit stops. And then there's the active aerodynamics. Movable front and rear wings, which will replace the drag reduction system for high and low downforce configurations. Think extra grip and speed where the drivers need it most. In 2026, there'll be 5 engine manufacturers for 11 teams. That's an increase of 1 over this year's suppliers. And if you have a look at who's using what, Mercedes, Williams, Alpine and McLaren, all using Mercedes engines. Ferrari supplying engines to Cadillac and Haas. Aston Martin will use Honda. Red Bull and VCarb will be using Red Bull Ford powertrains. And Audi will use their own engine. But This year, about 50% of the power will come from internal combustion using sustainable fuel and the other 50% electric. Gone will be the complex heat energy recovery system. It'll be massively boosted through the introduction of the kinetic energy recovery system from 120 kilowatts to 350. That'll result in faster acceleration, exciting overtakes, and better straight line speed, even though new engine management strategies will be required. Of course, every F1 fan is hoping for better and closer racing that allows drivers to take centre stage. Under these regulations, drivers will have more power in their hands than ever before, but they'll be forced to make more critical decisions about energy deployment, regeneration, and conservation, as if they haven't got enough on their hands driving these machines at 320 plus kilometres an hour. Gone are the days of drivers just needing to change gears and steer. They'll now need to be experts on deploying and using these tactical new elements. So going back to these 4 new terms, who came up with them? Well, it was a joint decision involving the FIA, teams and engineers. And once the new terms were agreed on, a group of new and traditional fans were asked for their feedback. It was quite a procedure, and F1 even sent out a press release outlining the meaning behind the new terms to ensure everybody's using the same terminology. Now, the fact that you've watched this video means that the first time you hear Overtake Mode, Boost Mode, Active Aero and Recharge on a race broadcast, you'll be able to enlighten those around you as to what they mean. But the exciting thing for me, and I imagine you, is the fact that we don't know who's going to be fast next year. With a new set of regulations, everybody has to reset, start afresh. And McLaren's dominant 2025 car may count for nothing come 2026. And when will we get to see these cars on track for the first time? There is testing in Barcelona in the last week of January, but they are private tests. There's no media allowed there. I won't be going. There'll be no liveries on those cars as well. They could well be in camo paintwork. And why is that? Well, Bahrain pays big money to have testing at their track, so they don't want anybody else spoiling the excitement of those reveals. And with regards to Barcelona, the track is actually hired for 5 days, but teams can only run their car for a maximum of 3. I'm thinking though there could be some spy photographers getting a glimpse of those cars on track for whatever that is worth. Teams, on the other hand, can only have, I believe, 1 photographer, and they can only shoot in the garage or from pit wall. And on top of that 1 photographer, I believe there'll be a social media photographer or videographer for each team. Will those images be made available online? We'll have to wait and see. But the first real glimpse for us will be on February 11, the first of 3 days of testing in Bahrain. And then we have 4 days off, and then there's another 3 days. All 11 teams will have their cars and drivers there. We'll get an idea on speed, but it won't be definitive. That will come in qualifying in Melbourne on March the 7th. Now, a reminder that my best of 2025 photo books are available at the shop at kimillman.com, along with this calendar. Thanks for watching and stay passionate. Why is that not sitting straight?